big day in Toronto. The president, Brendan Shanahan, it's 11 years of work, and some good, some bad, like is always the case. Yeah. It would kind of maybe a little clunky, given permission to talk to the New York Islanders before he was dismissed. Oh, that doesn't bode well for his time in Toronto. But I guess just read on his departure and what you expect to hear today.
I mean, the only reason I was surprised is because, through round two, it seemed like the group was pretty happy. Well, they were very happy in the first two games of the series on home ice, and not so happy based on how things unraveled in game 5 and game 7 for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And that may have ultimately pushed Keith Pelley and the board of Maple Leaf Sports to make the decision not to extend the contract of Brendan Shanahan. And you look at the body of the work. I mean, Shanahan's been allowed to put his fingerprints all over this organization for more than a decade. And not through lack of trying, but it just hasn't worked. I mean, Toronto obviously hasn't gotten to the place that they believe that they should be by this point, and that's contending for the Stanley Cup. It's just not there. So I think that change isn't a bad thing, but I say that, and I do want to give Shanahan some flowers, because I'm old enough to remember what it was like pre-Brendan Shanahan as head of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And man, it was chaos most days and most off seasons. And there was always levels of uncertainty at basically every layer of the organization. He cleaned a lot of that up. He brought the alumni back into the mix. I mean, there are statues honoring the great players historically the Toronto Maple Leafs outside Scotiabank. Well, that doesn't happen without Brendan Shanahan. So I don't think that Keith Pelley is going to announce that a search is underway to replace Brendan Shanahan. I think they're just simply going to absorb it internally. Maybe Pelley takes on more of the board responsibilities. That's fine. And Treliving handles all things under the umbrella of hockey operations. So Brendan he's had a good run. He wants to work again, and I think he'll get that opportunity.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's so high profile, obviously. And I mean, what would be his biggest, you hate to dwell on it, people will point to the big money given without seemingly much fight to the big guys. Is that his biggest failure?
I think so. But again, you have general managers and departments that manage that stuff. And I think wrongly people just assume that Shanahan had to rubber stamp everything. No, he was involved. Did he have influence? Of course. Given his resume as an executive and formerly as a player, I mean, why wouldn't you lean on Brendan Shanahan, for hockey opinion, right? It's a good question for sure. The length of contracts. Like, I remember when they initially gave Austin Matthews that short-term deal out of his entry-level contract, every manager across the league went, what the hell is going on in Toronto, and why did they do that? Because it kind of upset the apple cart. So in part that, stubbornly supportive of the core four: Marner, Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, and by extension 5, if you want to throw Morgan Rielly into that mix. That is going to change. It'll change naturally with Marner being an unrestricted, Tavares being an unrestricted free agent. And maybe the planets just didn't align. I thought that Kyle Dubas did an effective job. He did. Brendan went outside the box in bringing Dubas initially in, and then ultimately he becomes general manager. This group here, and I'll still include Shanahan, Treliving, Berube, 3 like-minded hockey men for the first time ever under the leadership, the guidance of Brendan Shanahan. And I don't know how he could have got there sooner, like 5 years ago. I don't know. But I think in hindsight, I would have liked to have seen what this group is capable of beyond the core 4 era, which I think ends as of right now.
Hey, buddies, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Also, if you could throw in a like and subscribe, it does help us out with what it is we are doing. And check out more at flamesnation.ca.